Hey, it's Theater Thursday, and I'm Hannah, and this is ChuBs, and we are going to do a movie review on Angel City. It was a made-for-TV movie, 1980. Um, and You ready to get started? Was that
Yeah.
was that good?
Yep. Oh
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Do you want to start talking, or you want me
I can throw out the basics.
to? Okay.
Back in the '80s, nobody would have known that this had such a all-star cast. But
Mhm.
just to run down, in the role of Jared Teeter, we had Ralph Waite, who people might know from The Waltons, all the way up to the movie Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone. In the role of Cy, you have Paul Winfield, who was in movies such as The Terminator, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, who got the worm in his ear. Also in the movie Cliffhanger, oddly enough. Um, Cloma Teeter was. Oh wait, I didn't put her name, so I apologize. But that was the wife. She was in movies such as Night Moves and Slapshot. Um, Now, the most obvious person and probably to come out the most famous is Je- uh, Jennifer
Jennifer.
Jason Leigh, who was Christy Teeter, and people obviously would probably know movies like Single White Female, up to recently the what is it? Hateful Eight. Um, the role of Silas Creedy, who was played by Mitchell Ryan, was in movies such as Lethal Weapon and Halloween 6 to show just how far his
Oh
career
wow.
goes. Yeah, and now with most of these people, if you look them up, you'll get a lot of TV,
Mm-hmm.
from soap operas to more TV movies. And just to throw one out of left field, one of the guards, played by, I guess, Sud, it was SUD, played
Mm-hmm.
by Red West, who was in Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. And I found that
Wow.
to be interesting. Yeah, he was one of the guys who lived in the town.
Oh
But
yeah, you did mention Jennifer Jason Leigh. She's in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
yeah, like
That was
you
a
could,
very popular movie.
yeah, I could have wrote a million of these, but a
Yeah.
lot of these actors did a lot of work. But Jennifer
Mhm.
Jason Leigh, being one of the youngest, went on to do a lot more, obviously, and do some. I think Single White Female was her first Oscar,
Oh
but
yeah, that was a good one.
and unfortunately, her brother didn't do too much, and I didn't get a chance to write his
And she
name
was
down.
in
But
Weeds, that
oh
show on
yeah,
Showtime. Yeah.
yeah. Like I said, I could have wrote a million things for her, but like
Yeah,
I
and a
just
lot.
showed like Single White Female, something people know, and then
Yeah.
Hateful Eight is something that just came out in 2017, 2018.
Yeah, it's
So
fairly new.
So, just to give the short rundown, you have a family who lives in West Virginia in the mountains. They have to sell their property because they're not making enough money. He says, the chickens aren't giving enough eggs to get chicken feed, and the cows don't give enough milk to pay for the hay. That shows you, so you get a sad beginning and spoilers, by the way, we're going to spoil it, but that's the fun. Um, he tells that the town comes to see them off, and one guy gives him moonshine. He's like, here's my present for you.
Hmm.
And my favorite part is after he tells them, look, when I leave, y'all can come take what you want. It's not even worth selling, blah blah blah. He goes, now let's go eat, and then we'll come out and do some slapping and playing, talking about, because some guy brought a fiddle or a banjo, if you will, name it, whatever. um their goal, their destination is Florida. I think Jacksonville, if I remember correctly. Um, when they get down to old Florida, they get told by the wrong person that there's a job he could find. Turns out it's a labor camp called Angel City, and you find out it's basically like slaves on a plantation. He's
Hmm.
going to work horrible hours. Even the kids have to work. He makes a friend in Cy, Paul Winfield's character, who tries to help him out through the whole thing.
The house
And
was really bad too.
Oh, everything's bad, and plus his wife's pregnant, and that makes it 10 times worse. Um, but to me, and I'm sure everybody would think this, the worst part is that the bad Creedy will take the kids of people who work there to ensure nobody runs. And he
Mhm,
takes Jennifer Jason Leigh, who's in the movie 16. I don't know how old she was in real life at that time, but she wasn't much older than that because
mhm,
Fast Times came not too long after. But, and in the most horrible scene that surely made me cry when
mhm,
she breaks down to the mom and says, he did things to me. And you knew it was coming, just like the dog, they kill the poor dog, but you know it's coming, but it's still horrible. So to get back, they come up with a plan, and in one afternoon, they take all the guards out, they take Creedy out, and you have the best moment where he's going to kill him. He's going to kill Creedy, Mr. Cheater, and they stop him. And Cy says, if you put a bullet in him, you won't see your kids grow up. Well, he says my kids because in a great act of kindness, he makes Cy the godfather of the baby and names the baby after him because he was so nice to him. And throughout the movie, their dream is to open a fruit stand on the side of the road. That's their dream. That's it.
mhm.
And I like the part where he's like, he offers Cy, he's like, if we do this, I want you to be my partner. And he goes, but as long as we don't sell no cucumbers, right?
Yeah.
Or talk to people who eat cucumbers, right? And so you get the touching story and the horribleness, and then you have like the direct
I like
parallels to
the part where the guard walks up to him. He's like, "What? Why are you laughing?" You know, to Sai, and he's like, "Cause I got a dream or something." He's like,
right,
"He gave me a dream."
and it's right after that you get the direct parallel to slavery,
Mhm,
where he Cy's talking to Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, and he says, "Well, what we got to do is we got to sing," and he
mhm,
says, "Because my ancestors before me were in this type of situation, and to make the day go shorter, they would sing. Now that's true. That's what slaves used to do, and that's how we get roots to modern music. By the way,
yeah.
is through that. But the Creedy actually shuts that down real quick. He
And
always
he's like,
says
"That's counterproductive. That's
everything's
counterproductive."
counterproductive. The dog's counterproductive, and this and that. But
Um,
uh, to me, this is like like the slavery connection. It's a tale, no matter what time period you put it in or what situation. Like when we were talking about Phantom of the Paradise,
mhm.
getting caught in a contract, you're a slave to the company, and they're going to ruin you and they're going to keep you down. And this is just the worst type of situation in that way. But you can, you know, it's a lesson to be not taken advantage of, and you can rise up. Now, I don't suggest you do it that way by burning everything to the ground, but this guy surely deserved it. So I, I, I had seen it probably in the later '80s because I watched, like I said, a lot of TV. But watching it again, I enjoyed every second of it. I wasn't bored,
Mhm.
and this is one I would recommend. It's on YouTube. We found now it's made for TV, but honestly, I think they could remake it into a big budget movie and it'd be
Mhm.
fine today. Like put some money behind it, get some good actors, and just expand the story out a little bit. So there's your overview. So why don't you go ahead and throw some thoughts our way?
Well, I definitely think it's a very underrated movie. I saw it like a few years ago because like I watch a lot of movies on YouTube because they're like free, and I just stumbled across it and I was like, wow, this is like a really like awesome movie for like TV. And I mean the cast like they were very believable. Ralph Waits he played Jared. He just was very believable as like a very nice, naive like farmer.
Yeah.
He played the role like perfect. You know. And Creedy, he was just absolutely like the most evil character. Um, and the scene like you're talking about uh, where the daughter was talking about all the things he did to her, like it was pretty horrible. Like he wanted to take the baby. He's like, "Oh, she's not much of a woman, so I'm gonna take the
Yep.
baby." Like that's a
That's
horrible thing. Because you like you just basically what happened to her. So yeah, that part's very like sad for me too. Um, you know, and just like you're talking about, like it's obviously it's about slavery. Is what this film is like, modern day slavery, I guess you could say, because it's this was just like what how many years ago, like in the 80s. But you basically got the feel for like what slaves went through and how you can't escape. They take the little one, so there's like no way out. And then whenever they do escape, there was like what was it, a swamp or something that had like alligators and stuff.
Yeah, they're looking at the gate when the Teeter family first gets there, and Cy says, "You're looking at the Everglades, it's full of snakes and alligators." And them being from West Virginia, don't. And when Teeter does run out that one time, he
Mhm.
goes in the water and sure enough runs into an alligator because it is. I can tell you, I live in the same type of. I don't live in it, but near it, swamps where it is the most inhospitable stuff you can think of.
Well, it's like also they were implying that people like got eaten by those too. Like they're basically implying like people that left just got eaten by
Yeah,
gators and stuff too. So
Cy says like I've seen a couple men go in, but none ever come back out. So,
mhm,
and that's one thing I love that they do in this movie. They don't just say everything exposition to the audience like this is this and this is this, and even they use the Teeter character like he's trying to when he first gets there that first couple days, he'll say, "Well, I'll have enough money by doing this," and Cy will be like, "Well, that's not how that works. You'll find out
mhm,
Saturday." And he's
yeah,
like, "Well, I don't see the problem of doing this, and why is he doing that?" And nobody will come out and just tell him, which in a way I don't agree with because
yeah,
you could tell them something, but yeah, you don't want to get there. They know they'll be hurt. Like one time when Teeter escapes, he brings the cops back, and even his wife lies because they have his daughter,
mhm,
and you you have to understand, like as the audience, you're like, oh well, I get it. Like nobody will say anything because they know it'd be worse if they do, and the
yeah.
scum gets away with it. But I
Well,
think
they're
they
worried
did it.
about what he do to the kids and stuff. They just flat out said, yeah, he's got our kids, like
Yeah,
And he was talking about I don't even have records and stuff that my kid was even born.
yeah.
So it's like he's like he could just like kill my kid and like nobody'd ever know.
Yeah, and he says he buried his wife in the woods after the birth. So,
Mhm.
everything is, truly sad, but they bring you back up at the end by showing you that these people didn't just sit down and take it. And it's sad that it really was his daughter he snapped. And I think any man or woman would do that when their kid, you know, and when he says, well, your daughter, we don't need her. We'll take the baby. I think anybody would kill for their baby. So,
Yeah, and like how he took her innocence away. It's like she
uh,
just wasn't even like excited about anything anymore. Like, she went through such like traumatizing thing.
you
Um,
know, one of the biggest parts about that kills me and made me tear up, one of the many, but throughout the movie, she wants a perfume that smells like peaches, I think it is. So
mhm,
let's just say that. And Christmas comes around, he pulls what little money he has together and the brother picks it out for her. And when they give her the present, Jennifer Jason Leigh's character says, "I don't think anything's gonna smell like peaches anymore." And when she said that, I broke down. It's like
mhm,
that again. They didn't have to. She didn't have to come out and say, "Oh, he assaulted me" or whatever. She just said, you can see it in her face and what she said, like that nothing's gonna be the same for me. And to me, that movies could take a note from that these days, where everything's just said to you. Back,
mhm,
you didn't have to do that. Half the movie, like they don't tell you what's going on or what's going to happen, and you can tell or figure it out or guess correctly. And I think they
mhm.
did a great job, and they need to make movies like that better, like these days.
Well, it's like you're talking about, like sometimes they put these unnecessary like scenes of like the traumatizing thing. We don't have to see that. He could basically let us know what happened without showing us, which I feel like back in the day, I feel like maybe older movies they were better at implying stuff without actually having to make you go through it too. Like it's like I get what happened. Like I don't need to see this.
Um, what's funny, a lot of movies back then, they did that because they didn't have the budget. So
Mhm.
they had to tell, not show. Because movies nowadays, they would have showed what happened to her and just shown it, and
Yeah.
they didn't have to come close to doing that. And so I
Mhm.
commend them. I gotta move this up because guess what? It started raining. But anyway, but no, they did a great job of just implying. But like I said, when she said that, all it took was like her to say things aren't going to smell the same anymore for me. You knew right off the bat.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
this movie's definitely a tearjerker, but it the end brings it back to where you feel good inside. Like family does matter, and friends matter, and for the main characters being different colored skin, it didn't matter. Like
Mhm.
they became friends to the point of he let him be the godfather to his son and named his son after him because the guy stuck his neck out for him. That's a beautiful sentiment that you don't get again that much these days in movies.
Mhm. And I like the singing part, like you were talking about
Oh yeah,
earlier. Um, that part, like it just seemed like one of like the beautiful like scenes in the movie to
oh
me.
yeah,
You
and the
know,
fact that the bad guy stops it shows just
oh,
how bad he is.
he's like just so mad that they had any kind of joy. He just wanted them to be miserable and just like work their butts off for him. Like it was just like there was no kind of happiness for anybody. And he tried to get everybody to drink wine or something. He like charged people for wine they didn't even want.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
like oh you might as well take it because he's gonna charge you for it. He's like I don't want this. Or
right. Now, I wanted to bring up something real life that can be compared to the movie. Now, it happens to this day, but okay. In the beginning of the movie, when they first get to town, when they first get to Florida, they tell them, if you want a job, you have to be at such and such a street, and you find out that they go, and that's where they pick people in the back of a pickup truck to go do manual labor.
Mhm.
Now, I can't tell you that's what everything was like after Katrina down here. Like
Mhm.
every time you went somewhere, there was pickup trucks and people getting in them, and those things still happen to this day. And it's sad things have to go that way. That people can't just get a real job half the time. So again, another thing the movies bring to life that like these were good people that had to just. He says all the time, "Well, I have to find work no matter what it is," and they kind of jump time a little bit. Like they don't say how long he was in town, and he's looking and he finds the guy who gives him the number of where to be, and then they go to the middle of nowhere. It looks like the crossroads, and then the bad guy shows up and he's like, "Do you want to work for me or not?" But yeah, I
And then
can
how he
say
walked them into like immediately you got a bad feeling. How he just like locked the gate and he's like, "Why are you doing that?" Like I want to know. He's like, "You can get out every day," because he's like, "I need to like get out of here." Sometimes like you'll get out every day.
right,
Like
and he did throw some good lies in there, like, well, when my people are out in the fields, I lock the gates so people can't get in,
yeah, they
and it's
wants their stuff to get taken.
so like on the surface that makes sense, but even the cop shows up and he's like, "Why do you have barbed wire on here like there's a prison?" And he's,
Yeah,
uh,
it's like
you
straight
know,
up prison. But then Sai was also trying to. He's like, "You need to take your family. You need to get out of here. Like you need to go." And he's like, "Well, I can't.
yeah,
I need money."
that's the part where like he tells him you need to go tomorrow morning, get in your truck and leave, and he's like, "Well, I can't." That's the part where he should have been like, "Hey, this is called a labor camp, but it's a damn prison camp. We're all stuck here as slaves." And even when they're in line at one point, and I'm going to try and use the best wording I can, but Creedy says, like, for he doesn't say the actual N word, but the other N word, and then calls the Spanish people like wetbacks, and you
Mhm.
hear some people say cracker. Like they go off, they make it clear like all they didn't do was use like Klan paraphernalia, but the guy who was in Roadhouse, his character wore a Civil War hat from the Union side. I noticed, and
Mhm.
that was to me their way of throwing it in. Like nobody's good on the that side, and they use even the wrong language. Where
Mhm.
even in 1980, those words were being pushed out, but nope, this guy's that bad. He's going to use everything he can.
I think the scene with the dog was like really sad to me because like he just killed their dog and like they're just laughing about it. It's like, no, we didn't kill that dog, haha, and they're like laughing. It just like showed how like absolute evil they were. You
But
know,
at the same time, that was the turning point for the people at the camp. Like they even say nothing's been the same since they buried that dog. And the guy's like, well, I don't know what the dog has to do with anything. That was an inconvenience, but it brought the people closer together. And then, like, when she
mhm,
has the baby, everybody gives her a little bit of their food and such, and they can't afford to. And she's like, yeah, I don't have to. But you
mhm,
see the camaraderie and the way people come together. And that's the beautiful part where
mhm.
through all the torture and the bad people and the situation, like they have to stick together. So
Well, there's obviously like a big bond with all these people because they've been through so much together.
mm,
Um, that like when you suffer with somebody, sometimes you get closer to them.
for sure. And let that be the message for today. Don't don't feel you're alone ever. Don't be afraid. Find somebody and reach out to them, even if it's a neighbor. If you don't have a family member or a friend to go to, try and find somebody. You never know who will stick their neck out for you. So this movie gets that message across, and to do what you can to not fall in a bad situation. Like some stuff doesn't look bad or doesn't look bad on the surface until you get your in too deep, and we all can relate to that. So
Mm-hmm.
now let's go ahead and throw out our ratings.
Okay,
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
you can go first.
I will give this movie an 8.5. And I only notch a couple things down because just simple stuff like some of the stuff the script didn't do right. The acting was great. The way they portrayed everything was great. It was filmed great. And like I said, I would like to have seen it as an actual movie more than a
Mm-hmm.
TV movie. And the version I saw that you sent me had no commercials, so I didn't even think until those black parts where the commercials would be. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
think I forgot. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a TV movie, but it didn't need to be, and it was not. It was nominated for some awards. It got 3 stars when it came out, so it's still regarded pretty well. But I'll give it an 8.5 and high marks. So
Well, I'm gonna give it a 9.5 because I think like I like everything about this movie. I really do think like they could do a bigger production of it and maybe even like do like a remake and stuff and they could put big time actors in it and I think it would be a hit. I think it would win awards and stuff. Um because like the story just has so much different elements to it of like, slavery, like suffering, hope, like, it just there you just have like so much emotions when you watch it, or at least I did.
oh
Um,
yeah,
you know, and then the ending was like made me happy. So, you know. Yeah, I
I,
think
I I look at movies like how well 12 Years a Slave did, right? But
mhm,
that's still a period piece. Like they could make the movie today and don't even have to keep it in the 1980s. They could make it today with the
yeah,
way the way like
the labor
I, I,
camps are.
well that but like the way sweatshops are. They could use a
Mhm,
modern thing that's going on today. And like I said, Katrina, I saw people getting in the back of trucks I thought they were paid well. I don't think they were taking the labor camps, but the fact that this movie was made in a more modern setting, like there's countless movies that come out about slavery itself when it happened, and that's great. But to take
But
it
we
and
still
move
have slavery today. Like I guess that's the
right,
point you're trying.
show modern times or the modern version of what slavery is. Like it's that doesn't just mean the transcontinental slave trade. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's everyday stuff like that happens, or people are getting paid so little to do so much. You know, like there are a couple movies about like sweatshops and such, and the way I don't want to single out just China. Let's say places in the Orient or Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they can make it in that sense, but who knows what's to come? I hope producers and directors are hearing us. They could do a really good job with that, and this is the perfect movie to go off of. So
Mm-hmm.
there you go. Like we recommend it. Angel City from 1980 with an all-star cast. It was a made-for-TV movie, but if you watch it, you won't feel even remember or notice it's a made-for-TV movie. It's a great movie as a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
we both give really high marks. We're doing pretty good on the high mark scale.
Mm-hmm.
We've only had one dud so far, really, but you never know. And
Yeah.
you never know what we're going to come up with because you guys don't know the little talky talk we have and what movies we have on the docket. And we have some
Mm-hmm.
good ones coming up. So always stay tuned because you never know what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm. And what was I? I had something I was gonna say, but I forgot. I can't remember what I was gonna say, y'all. So it talks about like our brains is like memory just kind of poof has gone. So
Yes, well, I would like to point out that we both have our notebooks and we keep notes and we get info so we don't just, hey, this movie was blah and throw out useless or just our opinions because that's what we do in the end. But I want people to know who's in it and like when it came out. And, I don't want to go as far as tell you every company that made it. That's boring. You can
mm-hmm,
find a million people who review movies and say 20th Century Fox made this or whatever, but we're going to tell you some of the nitty gritty and the high points. So when people watch us review it, they can go, oh, that sounds like something I would like to see, or oh, that sounds so bad. I need to see it to feel it, and try and get people to go see it. And as always, if you go see what we talk about, find us in any comment of any video and tell us what you think, or recommend something for us to watch yourself, because we're always up for something to look into.
well, yeah. I wanted to say, me and Chubbs are really into like movies and stuff. So like we're willing to watch like low budget, high budget, like underrated films. Like we'll pretty much watch anything if it's a good movie. Like why not? And it's one of those movies I think is like underrated because it's like made for TV, and I think they could do a really great production and stuff. They could get like Denzel Washington and like they could get some like big names in there and make a really award winning movie.
Now that his son's acting, I'd love to see his son in a role like that.
Oh yeah, that would be like pretty cool.
But he's kind of going action star-ish.
Well, I think this is like kind of important, this type of
Yeah,
movie. So
but
he
no,
probably
you're kind of right in the first place because like Psy is an older gentleman, like so there wasn't too many young actors except for the kids. So,
hmm
but yeah, I've seen some pretty low level movies like C and D level, but I will say this: I've never walked out on a movie
hmm
in the theater. I've seen some trash before, and so I've actually never really turned a movie off, and I've seen some horror movies that would make you just want to take it out and go to the bathroom on it because it's terrible. But I become a completionist when it comes to movies where it's like I'm gonna finish it just to see, and some are bad. But so far with our reviews, aside from the bad one, which was The Forest, which we both didn't know much about at all,
yeah.
we picked stuff we liked or that looked great on the surface, and I will say one of the movies I've talked to Miss Hannah about has to do with it's a Bigfoot movie, but it's not anyone y'all are probably thinking of, but that's a story for another day.
Mhm.
Surprise, surprise. So,
Surprise, surprise.
but
I did
yeah.
a Gomer pile.
But there you go, everybody. Angel City, 1980, a classic in our books, and we think you'll love it too. So
Mhm.
check it out for yourself and come tell us what you think.
All right, yeah. I think it's a great movie. Y'all should give it a try. You know, that's all I gotta
Definitely.
say.
All right. So till next time, we'll be back.
All right, deuces, y'all.